And this is why this paper is not going to appear in the peer-reviewed literature. It's not serious. It's a dog ate my homework kind of thing. If you have a dark matter thing, if you have a dark matter prediction, if you have a dark energy...
Did he just drop a how dare you? He is reading verbatim your own words. That's such a funny response. How dare you? Quote tweet me back to myself.
This is from an hour-long interview on Piers Morgan, and I seriously contemplated.
Drega01, thank you for the $2. I stubbed my toe. With that, I curse Hassan.
Dedicating the entire fun half of this. But this is a compilation. Was it put together by Piers Morgan?
It's no, put together by Twitter user that's really great on this stuff, at the bad stats, THEBADSTATS.
Now, just a little bit of background, and I only know so much because there's only so much
Science.
Eric Weinstein that I can handle, and in science. But Eric Weinstein, he was doing this about a year or two ago, right? Or was it 3 years ago?
Up to like 4 years ago, he has a geometric unity theory with, some parts that aren't exactly filled in all the way about like the Shiab operator.
Well, let's not.
This was too big of a nerd fight for me to get into. All you really need to know is that Eric Weinstein, he's got a long history of pushing pseudoscience, quackery, ivermectin. And it's really funny because he's one of those intellectual dark web members who uses the bona fides of his doctorate to be able to justify him speaking on anything. And unfortunately, a lot of the audience is going to sit there. For some people, all you need is doctor. Like I could be like, I'm a doctor of film studies, but you're a doctor. Yes, my doctorate is in film literature. It's not medical. I'm not a medical. Those are separate doctors. I am technically a doctor, but you're a doctor. All right, that's all I needed. So what do you think I should eat? I mean, at this point, I guess beef tallow seems to be what y'all like.
Yes, editorialize on that. Because you're not a physics professor, nor am I.
No.
You're not a physics scientist, nor am I. You're not a researcher.
It was only his brother who pushed ivermectin? All right, I stand corrected. That was me misspeaking.
You don't do anything like that. So we're not going to judge.
An English major.
You're an English major. I did a little religion and political science.
Cleaned up. That's sort of like what happens here.
It's funny because you don't often see the intellectual dark web have to actually interact with people outside of their safe spaces. So I'm seriously interested to see what the physicist has to say.
I would like to let people out there know who might be working outside the academic physics community that it is 100% possible to have a good idea and have it have an impact on what physicists do. But it's not easy. You have to do a certain amount of work to show that your theory is worth the time, that it is respectable, that it is interesting, that it is promising. The first thing you got to do is make sure that your theory makes contact with modern physics as it is understood. If you have a new paper out, physicists are going to look at it. They're going to look for, where's the Lagrangian? Where's the interactions? Is the proton stable? Is there dark matter? Like, how does it fit into what I already know?
Those are all different levels of the stack, Sean.
Eric's paper has none of that. You would also ask, has the theory been shown to be viable in a very basic way? Is it stable? Is it free of anomalies? Is it finite in the sense of the quantum mechanical calculation that I already mentioned? Again, none of that is there. Are there any new predictions? Eric says, and completely correctly, string theory doesn't make any new predictions either. But also, I really don't want people to get the idea that string theory has some dominant picture. In my department at Johns Hopkins, we have... Let me just finish and then you can talk. I think it's a good system. In my department at Johns Hopkins, we have 6 professors in the theoretical physics group. One of them does string theory, and even he only does it sort of half-time. I wish we had more, honestly. This is very typical. Even at the most stringy departments, it's maybe half the people who do string theory. There are plenty of other approaches being advocated, and many of them do make different predictions, and we're looking for them.
Just to explain really briefly, Eric Weinstein says, well, if string theory can get away with some of this stuff, which he'll explain why string theory is valued, why can't mine? That's all this is about.
Right. And what the other thing that Sean Carroll is explaining is that we're not just dedicated to string theory. We have a lot of other people doing a lot of other, pursuing a lot of other theories.
Not that Eric would know anything about that.
No. Well, of course, because DISC inhibits that type of communication. We should also say that Carol is now at Johns Hopkins.
All right, gotcha.
And astrophysics and elsewhere. And finally, does your theory solve any interesting problems that we already thought we had? That's the reason why string theory became interesting, because we had this problem with quantum gravity, that it gave infinite answers, and string theory solved that problem. And again, I see none of that in Eric's paper. So it's very possible that somewhere in Eric's theory there are interesting ideas, but he has given us no reason to think that it is a promising theory. I encourage other people who would like to have an impact on the research agenda of modern physics to take these easy steps rather than going on podcasts and talking about their victimization.
I do all sorts of things that you have no idea of because your attitude, which you repeat in other podcasts, and I highly advise you to spend more time in your physics department and less time on YouTube, is that this is not a serious thing. Nobody's taking.
I mean, a little bit pot.
My God. This,
No, that's Eric Weinstein.
I just love the idea that, like, you would go on to a show and get indignant because it's quite clear the person I'm having a debate with is not aware of the other things I do when I'm not here.
And all over you, the guy most on YouTube is like, stay off of you.
But it's just like the idea that, like, you don't know all the different things I do. I took a walk today in the park. Also, this weekend I saw a movie. I bet you didn't know that. Did you know that I bowl on occasion? No, you don't. You couldn't possibly know. You couldn't possibly know that I did paintball just 6 months ago. Nor were you aware of the fact that sometimes I do synchronized swimming. I do so many things that you have no idea about, sir.
Is that this is not a serious thing. Nobody's taking it seriously. And your misportrayal of
Just
this
go back to get that part and their reaction.
of things that you have no idea of because your attitude, which you repeat in other podcasts, and I highly advise you to spend more time in your physics department and less time on YouTube, is that this is not a serious thing. Nobody's taking it seriously. And your misportrayal of the situation is nearly constant for reasons that completely elude me.
Pause it for a second. Pause it for a second. No, keep the image up there. Because I want you to look at Piers Morgan's face.
Well, I'm sure Pierce was getting off because at the end of the day, that's all he wants, right? Is viral moments on the internet. He's a Jerry Springer now of like YouTube, essentially. So he's just sitting there waiting. Oh yes, certainly. Soon they will begin to ash. I know it. If not, I'll say something slightly.
Piers Morgan is going to himself, cannot believe I'm watching this complete meltdown. Like, he is sitting there going like, the person who booked this on my show is going to get a fucking medal.
Popping bottles tonight.
Oh my God. Like, he is just like, this is fantastic. It is one of those moments where, and this is the thing that Piers Morgan's job, I envy on some level, because all he does is he puts like people in there, and his whole job is to sometimes just like not smile. Like, I just have to pretend like I'm showing respect.
Oh, I respectively disagree. It's to push them every time. If there's not enough of a fight, if people are actually starting to have like a reasonable conversation where people might learn, immediately he'll just stop them. Oh no, but I believe you, madam, at one point you said the N-word, yes? It's like, oh, but that's not what we were talking about. But like, yeah, sure, that happened. It's like, wait, what? You never told me about that. And then boom, and then Pierce is like, oh yes, delicious, exactly what I wanted.
And it's just, I'm going
Well, I'm stirring shit.
I'm doing nothing. I'm just watching this physics professor gut Eric Weinstein in front of me. And I'm just going to pretend like I am not like laughing. Like, I would imagine there was literally like tremors in his throat where he's just turn my mic down. My God.
The good news is I have read Eric's paper. Here it is. I actually have it here, right here.
Nice.
And it's worse than you would think. You know, it just very quickly, it starts off by saying the author is not a physicist and is no longer an active academician, but is an entertainer and host of a podcast. This work of entertainment is a draft work in progress, and it may not be built upon. So we're not allowed.
That is a cut by the Piers Morgan people, incidentally.
Whoa, okay, I didn't know this. He actually is the one who coined the term the intellectual dark web. He invented that. Weinstein first coined the label, the intellectual dark web, in a New York Times article by Barry Weiss. Surprise, surprise. To describe a group of public intellectuals and conservative or centrist political pundits who could talk to each other and criticize the true enemy, the far left.
How sort of like brutal this is. This is like, you know, the slow-mo close-up of...
He's also, yeah, he has also dabbled in anti-vaxxer stuff. It's not just his brother. Eric repeats talking points of anti-vaxxers, is hyper-focused on vaccine deaths while insisting he supports vaccinations. His brother is more openly a COVID anti-vaxxer who has caused the death of at least one of his followers. I didn't know that. The two brothers often promote one another and enable one another. Though defenders will say they're just asking questions and insist ivermectin, a horse paste used to treat parasites and not viruses, could be a miracle cure for COVID. It's definitely not, per a major study with 1,500 participants in Brazil where no effect was seen. He blames the establishment for a lack of mainstream access while cozying up to billionaires and podcast pros. Yeah. Worried about fertility. Weinstein is worried that all young women in their 20s and 30s who are not prioritizing being a baby-making machine, aka being a mother, as a public intellectual, he thinks breastfeeding is sexy and is essential to being human, and is annoyed with women who have PhDs who have called doctors, even though they're not part of the STEM he is. Well, you can't call them doctors. How dare they? Also, wait, what's the breastfeeding one all about? Gonna have to check the source on that one. It is an archived clip. All right. Definitely not weird or creepy to be a dude fixated on women's fertility and menstrual cycles, or to think swollen breasts being sexy is essential to being human. A lot of boomer parents are going to die with hard drives full of photos from tropical getaways and stylish German cars in their driveways without knowing what it feels like to teach a grandchild how to tie a shoe. I miss women. They used to send us into the store to buy these supplies, you know, just to test us. It was fun. Women were awesome. I miss them. I assume by being a man who specifically appreciates women who menstruate, I've now violated the Twitter deal. Wait, what? Why are you posting this on Maine? This is the shit you gotta torture out of folk. Hey, Twitter, just want to know, I love the ladies, especially when they're menstruating. Oh, what? Am I not to say this? Am I going to now get the circular firing squad for being honest? There are about 5,000 mammalian species. We're the only one with permanent swollen breasts. Breasts being sexy is essential to being human. This is why STEM PhDs are confused about why all MDs and therapists are honored with the term doctor without additional scientific training. I didn't know what kind of a freak this dude was. I am learning things today. My word. I guess those tweets are now deleted, which is why we got to find other people quote tweeting them in the Wayback Machine.
Like the actual, like, if this was Walking Dead, this is the slow-mo of, like, you know, whatever, the weapon, you know, crushing across somebody's face.
This is bullet time in the Matrix.
Starts off by saying the author. The good news is I have read Eric's paper. Here it is. I actually have it here, right here. And it's worse than you would think. You know, it just very quickly, it starts off by saying the author is not a physicist and is no longer an active academician, but is an entertainer and host of a podcast. This work of entertainment is a draft work in progress, and it may not be built upon. So we're not allowed to think about Eric's theory and write a follow-up paper about it. And
no, you're very much allowed, Sean.
To everything that is normally done in scientific discourse. You hope.
Oh God, come on, go to your happy place. Think about swollen, pregnant breasts, swelling unbelievably, larger memories just expanding in time and space.
That people build upon your theories. You don't try to prevent them. And then later on,
It's my theory. No one else can take it. No one else can take it. No one. It is mine. No one's. Incidentally, if anybody talks about bleaching, putting bleach inside to get rid of the thing, that's my idea. Go ahead.
And then later on, it says,
Sean,
this document is an attempt to begin recovering.
People have built upon
I'm going to read this. This document is an attempt to begin recovering a rather more complete theory, which at this point is only partially remembered and stitched together from old computer files, notebooks, recordings, and the like, dating back to as far as 1983. And this is why this paper is not going to appear in the peer-reviewed literature. It's not serious. It's a dog ate my homework kind of thing. If you have a dark matter thing, if you have a dark matter prediction, if you have a dark energy.
Did he just drop a how dare you? He is reading verbatim your own words. That's such a funny response. How dare you quote tweet me back to myself.
Prediction. I want to see a plot in the paper. I want to see redshift versus
Sean,
distance. I want to see a calculation of a relic abundance so I can figure out how much dark matter is supposed to.
See, I've told you before, there's good nerds and there's evil nerds. This is a good nerd, right? I just love his nerdy confidence where he's just so fact of the matter, being like, I'm just going to be very plain and simple with you. This is not how we do science. This is the ego aggrandizement of a madman who wants us to not critically look at his work or investigate it. And that's why he's saying at the start, I am a very prominent podcaster. Do not fuck with me. Do not fuck with me, okay?
To be. If you do that,
Sean.
people will pay attention to the theory. It's very possible.
Sean, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, if you're going to go by the
read your paper?
No, Sean, how dare you cast shade and aspersions of the kind that I wouldn't seek to cast on you, but I will now.
Oh no. Oh no, he's achieving his ultimate form. Here we go. He's gonna start picturing your breasts swelling. Who knows? I'm picturing you as a woman with swollen memories, menstruating as all women should.
Okay.
I'm not seeking your favor, nor do I need to seek your approval. As you know, you failed to gain tenure at the University of Chicago. You're not highly regarded in the field. And again, I'm only returning the shade in which you just yourself.
Nice. Oh yeah, no, he's going for it. I got to admit, it's not simply just like, you sir are a quack, you are uncouth, and that was not called for. Shame on you. It's like, oh no, I got my own receipts.
Cast. I wouldn't have done this otherwise. You then spent time as a non-tenured faculty at Caltech, and you only gained tenure.
See, that look is probably the same thing I'm thinking. What's your point? Oh, I'm an untenured professor. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to become a tenured professor? Like, if that's the standard by which you judge someone's credibility to criticize your own work, Jesus, my man. Well, I mean, that's beneficial because just like not a lot of people will be able to. There's very few tenured professors active.
In a non-standard professorship, you're not a leading person in the field. My belief structure
by the way, of course,
is that you imagine that I'm coming to you saying, "Oh, Sean Carroll, tell me which graph I should do so that I can please you." As you know, because you've read the paper, what you said about Lagrangians is false. What you said about predictions is false. My concern is what you did is that you seized upon something where people have built on my ideas since 1994. Oh. The equations that Natty Seiberg and Ed Witten introduced that took over the world were called the insufficiently nonlinear equations when I was at Harvard in 1987 and introduced them. The question of why appear as an entertainer rather than as a physicist. First of all, neither you nor I are trained as physicists, Sean. You're actually trained as an astronomer. What you have in this situation is that you and I are both interloping in a field that is not.
You're an astrophysicist? Fucking sad. Sad. Oh, sorry. Astrophysicist. Yeah. Can't take them seriously.
The one to which we trained. That doesn't bother me about what you're doing. I've enjoyed some of your papers. I've thought very poorly of others. You have a wide range of interests. I think you're very creative. Your intellectually insulting aspect reminds me of you as the Marie Antoinette of theoretical physics influencers. I'm not here to please you.
That doesn't make any sense.
You know that there are tables in the document that you're reading that have plenty of predictions. You know that it solves plenty of problems. What you are doing is creating an environment of fear where every university worries, what does it mean to talk to this person? And what I would say to you is you are commenting on the effect that you are in fact inducing. You and a small cadre of people are like intellectual border collies of the physical sciences, casting shade and aspersions on those who are succeeding where the quantum gravity, string theoretic, and M theoretic programs are failing.
Sean?
I got to be honest with you. This is totally my kind of nerd off, you know, because at the end of the day, I love talking to theoretical physicists because I don't understand shit. It's just, it's so beautiful. You're standing in a field or a discipline where people are at the precipice of human knowledge. And so they are trying to guess. Yeah, we don't totally understand what are the mechanisms that make a black hole operate, and how some people have theorized that you can actually be at the precipice of a moment in space and time where you will experience simultaneous pathways of non-linear time before eventually being absorbed into, but we don't understand how that works, but that mechanism is fascinating. Like, yeah, but I wouldn't like just shit on him for his field. Like, people who want to understand and try to understand the unknowable, that seems like a noble venture.
Look, I mean, I didn't say anything about Eric as a person, his history, or anything like that. I said things about the paper. Everything he says about me is like 90% true, as many things he says. The paper is not giving us any reason to think that this approach is promising. There is no
my ex was an astrophysicist. I understood nothing. It was hilarious. Yeah, but I just revel in it. I'm just like, this is so cool that this, what you are saying out loud makes sense to you. I'm hearing just all these new terms.
Quantum mechanics in the paper. There's no attempt at showing that this solves any of the known problems of quantum gravity. Again, it's not just about Eric, it's about anyone. If you want to make an impact on the physics research community, you have to give them a reason to think that what you do is promising.
Sean, you have a serious problem with dark energy that you're developing, and it's going to go right.
You have a serious problem with dark energy. They're even throwing out physicist terms. So for anyone not in the know, because I'm fascinated by this shit, even if I don't understand it, but dark energy is just what we're calling what we believe to be a force that we can't completely explain at this moment. What exactly is pulling the galaxy apart, and why does that force continue, and why is it continuing to expand endlessly? Now, some people can say because there's no gravity and there's no resistance in space, which makes sense that everything would continue to push outward, but it's moving and accelerating faster, which doesn't explain simply that being within, that there is no gravity, that it would just endlessly move in one direction. And so to explain that, we're trying to come up with new concepts, and one of them that we've started to tout is things like dark energy. But for him to try and use that in a fucking burn, that's hilarious. You just got physicist slapped.
Through having being a problem with lambda CDM to eventually being a problem with the Einstein field equations themselves, perched as they are atop the space of metrics as a completely inadequate space of field content.
Definitely. Like, I'm going to try and prove my credibility by saying these things. Now, honestly, to me, I mean, it sounds like he puts those things, and it sounds impressive. He certainly knows the name of these different things, and he has stacked them on top of each other.
He's avoiding the thing. There's a guy named Timothy Nguyen who back in 2021 pointed this out about geometric unity, where there's a whole sort of like part of the paper where it's like, well, there's this thing called the Shiab operator that makes this complexity understandable to people who study physics. I don't know what that is anymore. I lost my notes to that. So that's literally in the paper. Like, I lost my notes to what this
This is one of the times that makes me so sad that Neil deGrasse Tyson turned out to be a creep, because like you need people like Neil deGrasse Tyson's or Carl Sagan's who can explain a lot of these concepts to people like me, you know, the layman, but they make it so interesting and fascinating, and you just sit there in awe, and you become in sync with them as they start to like really have this eloquent way of explaining the sheer beauty of existence through their own processes of trying to uncover all these mechanisms that we don't understand. And you're just sitting there and you're like, holy fuck, that's just unbelievable. I'm having a transcendent experience right now, and I didn't even need to go to a church, you know, any of that kind of shit. This ain't it. This is just like a petty ghoul on the right who's just like, you don't know, how dare you? You have no idea what you're talking about. Dark matter has consumed your brain, sir.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Salim, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwig, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com/theserfs.